sharing. Hello, my name is Gabriela Fagundes, and I decided to start this series of videos here in that platform with the purpose to share my traveling, like a journaling of my traveling, my discoveries, what I'm researching and going through, and also as a practice to myself to speak more to you through that thing, that equipment, that camera, and practicing being really in my center and not losing myself in my mind, and also not judging myself while I was speaking. So one of the practices will be to speak flowly without script or any plans, just going with the flow. Also for me to have space to make sense of all the experiences I'm going through. I started traveling 3 years ago, mainly to do trainings and inside of Brazil, that is the country where I was born. And since 1 month ago, I decided more intentionally, or by intentionally I mean with a more clear purpose, to go traveling around the world, not just in Brazil or in Europe, because this was mainly the places where I was traveling before. And somehow it's stuck in a Western culture that is quite similar. Even that, like Germany, Czech Republic, Italy, Spain, Portugal, was some of the countries that I was before. There were some cultural differences from Brazil. Still, it is the Western way of living, and I was feeling the necessity inside of myself to create really a big gap between the culture where I was born, is Brazil, and in another cultures. And this necessity was coming from the place of like, okay, what else is possible as human being living here on planet Earth? So I decided to quit my plans. I had plans to go to Brazil back in November, 16th of November, by the way, 1 week ago. And I quit all of it, and I decided to go first to Greece to meet my partner Leonard and having a space with him there, and spending time together and saying goodbye for a while there, and going to a trip initially alone, and then with another 2 women who are Sonia Gonçalves and Maria Diaz, and traveling as a three-cell, as a nomadic BridgeHouse. And I also consciously in that last month declared to myself that I am nomadic. Somehow I was living like that the last year and a half, but it was not consciously, it was not declared. And the difference that I noticed as soon as I declared that I am a nomadic is that I started to feel more that each place I am, it's my home. And it's like, okay, here in this hostel that I'm living, I'm right now in Bali, it is my home. It is where I'm living for 5 days now. And because of that, is the place where I care for, is where I pay attention, where it's dirty, where is needs something to be repaired. Is where I can create connection with the neighborhood, with the village, with the family who is hosting me here. And the sensation of loneliness or isolation gets just dissolved, because if it is everywhere you are living right now, it's your home, it's the place where you can relax. And this was a big shift for me while starting traveling the last month. And so after Greece, I came here to Bali, and the purpose of me coming here to Bali, it was initially to go to a village in Monte Batur, like 10 kilometers north of Monte Batur. There is a volcano that exists here. and spending some time there with like living with the local, eating what they eat, sleeping when they sleep, and being in their environment and in being in their culture. And I'm going there tomorrow. That is Monday. What is the date? Tomorrow is 27th of November 2023. And I'm going there because I am with that purpose of being a cultural researcher and getting to know them. And so far, in that 5 days here in Greece, I could already experience quite a bit of this cultural distance, because the language I had heard Greek before, and the food was already a little bit more different than what I was used with, especially the sweets. I experienced so different sweets. For example, galactopurico and liction, something that was like a cheese, like a cheesecake, not cheesecake, but it was like that, and it is inside made by cheese and cinnamon and vanilla, I think, and it became to be my favorite sweet there. And yeah, I know I taste a lot of different sweets I never tasted before, and I love it. So it was a little bit already distance. When I landed here in Bali, it was like a shock already for me, just by landing, the energy here in this space. And actually started in Dubai. I did a connection there, and then in Singapore, and to observe how people dress differently, how they communicate. In Dubai, I noticed every corner of the airport there were a cabin to people to pray, and I think it was Islamism, and people was in the airport between connections, and they were going there to pray. And I entered in the temple, and it was really a specific energy, and they were praying there, and I never saw that. Like, for me, airport, I have the idea that is not a sanctuary place at all, and they were creating that there, even that is the airport. Anyway, when I landed here in Bali, that is an island in Indonesia, that like nowadays I can see that is quite touristic already. I sensed first out of all the temperature, the shock, the difference of temperature. It was 33 degrees, and the air, it is really humid. Now here, November, December is the season of rain, so rain a lot, almost every day, and the air and the sensation was like that. It was compressed. It was like, and as soon that I landed, I started to sweat. And here is like a sauna, an open sauna, and so this was the first physical difference for me. And then in the traffic going from the airport to here, to the hostel where I am now, I was with a woman, a taxi driver. Her name is Yaka, and we spent 2 hours in the traffic, and we are talking, and with translator, because she don't speak so much English, and I put the translator to have that interaction. And I was practicing to have a culture to culture conversation with her. And one discovery I had about that, first, a parenthesis for who don't know what is culture to culture, is each one of us have a culture that could be originated mainly from our culture where we were born, but also we as individual, we have a culture. How do we relate with women? How do we relate with men? How do we relate with the environment? Is the way we relate with the world, the lens we use. And So I was having this culture to culture conversation with her. So so the culture to culture conversation is basically when you keep your culture and you are genuine curious, with this curiosity of how it is in your culture, how do you do in your culture. And I she asked me, how is possible for you to travel all over the world? For me, I have to stay in my husband's parents' house for the rest of my life. And I said, how? Like, why? And and then she started to tell about the Muslim culture. So here in Bali, there is not just Hindu. The Hindu is really present, the religion Hindu. There's also a lot of Islamism. And this woman was Muslim. And she was speaking about that. And I know that there was a point, and I asked, okay, I was Brazilian, and now I'm experimenting to not have any identity, and I'm in the becoming, like what I would become. So, if I would like to become Muslim, how I would become? And then she's like, it's not possible. You would have to be born again. I said, why? Because I'm Muslim because my mother was Muslim. I said, okay, and how did your mother become Muslim? Because her mother was. So she said, okay, if you want to be Muslim, you have to be born again. I said, okay. In my culture, when you want to become something, you decide, I want to become that, and then you become it. And then it's like, wow, okay, it's really different for me that. And then I asked, okay, but what does it compound? Like, what is the things that that Muslims do? And then she started to describe some aspects of the culture, like such as the Muslim don't eat pork. The Muslim pray 5 times a day, and it's really strong to the Muslims that you do the goods, and if you do the goods, you receive goods, and you are here to do goods to the others. So they really have this perspective, and this is also really present in the Hinduism, and I sense this really difference in the culture here about the individualism, because they really have the sense that the others is part of them. So they don't hurt the others. They really care about the others. And they are really compassionate and lovable. And I don't know if it's because they really want or it's this condition, but anyway, this is my experience I'm having it here. And she said, it's like, we do the good. And then there's a point in the conversation, and it's like, but what is the good? And she said, I don't know, like, good is good. So in the culture to culture conversation, I'm noticing that there's a point when something is really common to a person, we stop there. And the joy of myself, it's to go over there. It's like to go discovering more than that. And yeah, so this was one of the conversations, and I was appreciating to meet the Muslim culture. And then I arrived in the hostel, and one interesting thing here is that the hostels are in family houses, and the family's houses here, they live all together. So there is the house of the grandma and the house of the grandma, and the house of the woman that is hosting here, that is holding space here for the hostel. And in the second day, I was talking with her, and she invited me to visit her place. And it was so interesting to see how the family is really central and to them. And she was explaining to me that this is actually her family now, but it was not in the past. because in their culture here, they the woman marriage with the man, and when they marriage with the man, they go with them to their family place, to their family community, and this becomes her new family. And because of that, she was explaining that the Balinese woman here, the Indonesian woman, they don't like to have girls because they will lose the girls when they get married. And if they have boys, the boys will become men and they will stay in the place forever and they will not be alone. So they really celebrate when they have boys here, and the women don't celebrate so much when they have girls. That's what she shared with me. And she shared also about some rituals. So the rituals, it's really present here. For example, every day in the morning they put some offerings, beautiful offerings, in the place, in the street, and together with some sculptures that is like some saints, not saints, this is from Christianism, but some deities for them. They put, and I asked one woman, and she said that this purpose is to protect and to bring protection and prosperity to the family, to the street, to the village, to the place. So they have this deep connection with the invisible, with the this sanctity, the divine. And yeah, and I could see how the patriarchy, it's here really together with the it's together with really with the religion. And it was, I felt really sad when I was talking with Ayua, that is the woman that holds space for the hostel where I am living now. And she said that for a woman it's really hard to be in that culture because they serve the men and they don't have so much choice. And she said it was really hard when she left her parents' house. She didn't want to left there, to live there, to go out of their parents' house. And also when I asked why the women can't enter in the temples when they are in their period, and she said because it's dirty. And so there is this word here of dirty, and I asked it what does that mean, and she couldn't tell me so much about it. She said it's because their parents said that it's dirty, and she never kept questioning it. She just know that it's dirty. And when she's in her period, she get isolated with herself alone and until finished, and then she come because then she's not dirty anymore. And then I asked her if she had period pains like cramps, and she said no, I don't have cramps at all. And this was so intriguing for me because I have a lot of cramps, and somehow I learned that menstruation is dirty, and I get to hide that when I was teenager and really just develop resistance to it. And I can feel that my body fight that nowadays. And then for her, even having this dirty since child, that this is dirty, when she speak about dirty, I don't sense this recrimination that this is wrong. And I don't know why, but there's something about that they don't have the judgment about the things. I can't explain, but what I got inspired in that culture is that they are really simple. So when she was describing the house, she was not adding on so many stories. She was really like naming it, the things, really clear and simple. And this creates such an easy territory to connect. And I had a cultural gap when I went in a resort here to do a yoga thing class, where there were a lot of American, European people, and I tried to connect. I started conversations with people, and it was it was much harder to connect. At least it was the story I created, because there was so many assumptions and expectations, and like I tried to speak, and there was like this neurotic listening or neurotic speaking, and I talked already with at least 10 to 12 Balinese people here, and it's so easy to have a conversation with them, even that I don't understand so well their language. And I'm still observing what is it that in their culture make it connection, and connection so easy, so natural, and that sense of family and community they have living like that, like in that configuration with the family. So I went really far away, and I noticed that the video got quite long, and I think this will be part of my experiment of speaking into the space and seeing what comes. These were some of my noticing. I discovered much more about like how they relate with women and between men, and also how they take care of the children, and some ceremonies they do with the children. I maybe I will share that in another video, that part of another cultural discoveries I did. But I want to start going to the closing of this one video, is that traveling to southeast place, at least I'm just in Bali so far, but I want to keep going to other places. But it is such a opportunity to experience in all your bodies that culture is really something that is made up, that is really created. Each thing, each component, and because it is made up, and when you are traveling to such a contrast, a different place, you can really have a big gap between the place where you was born, that you are certain that life it is in this way. So for example, I was certain that traffic just works with a signal and with really organization, and I'm discovering here that no, there's a totally different way that people drive with the flow and with the chaos. Like here, there is no signal. Their motorcycles go over like that. They don't use protection to the head, and they don't make noise to get out of the way. Like with these unconscious anchors, like "fuck you," "you are not respecting me," da-na-na. No, they just do the sound if they want to let you know, like, I'm passing. And they just are so present and have this big energetic skill to like go through the traffic. So I thought that this was not possible, and I'm discovering, I'm experiencing that actually it is. And when you experience these possibilities in life, in their 5 bodies, it's impossible to see life in the same way. For me, it's impossible to think that there is just a unique way of doing things now. And it's like that the horizon, or the possibility of creating my own culture, of the way I want to live, I want to interact with people, it's it's like a balloon having more space to breathe and to have ideas and to think. So I'm really inspired. It was 5 days so far, and I feel my being unfolding in so many parts of exploration and adventure, and I'm really glad with that step. And I can sense that this kind of experience of being in a hostel, of being communicating, figure out where to sleep, how to eat, how to create the money here, how to exchange the money, how to walk in the traffic, how to communicate with a person that don't speak the language you speak. All of these daily experiences build a lot of capacity to be more inside of myself. And I initially, in the crowdfunding I'm creating, I put that I'm doing the crowdfunding to radical freedom, and now I've got more clear that the real purpose of my traveling, and a part for me of radical freedom that is my necessity and my research right now, is to turn my volume up. What do I mean by that is, imagine that there is a volume outside of you that is like the outside impulses and ideas and expectations, and we learned to make it this very loud so we could react to it. So it's like that you put in 100% volume electronic music, so it's impossible for you to not hear what the another person want, what the another person expectation is. And then the inner wisdom, your inner wisdom of your being, your inner impulses get so shrink and stuck that is like, it's like whispering. It's like 5% volume, and then you can't listen. I couldn't listen, really. The voices of my head was so loud also, and my grumbling, that is like these impulses of compulsion and having the next thing, like the next training, the next healing, whatever, this compulsion to fix to myself, and the pressure was so big that I couldn't listen really this impulse that is more silent, that is more soft. And with the traveling in these 5 days, I experiencing, because there is no ground, so I'm totally liquid with all these facets of life that I described it to you. It's like that the volume of the outside just went down to like 10 or 5. And also because I'm more disconnected from internet now, and I'm going to next 2 weeks no internet, no electricity, and I'm sensing slowly the volume of inside of myself going up a little bit more. It's like 20, I would say now it's like 20, 25. So I'm sensing how it's easier to me to hear my impulses to, okay, what do I want to eat? Just come. It's like a bubbling water. Just, I want to eat here. And I arrive there, and the food don't look like so appealing to me. So, okay, I'll go in another place. And then I try it, and then it's like, I find, wow, I want to eat here. And then the food is like amazing, and my body is like just radiant and opening, because it's the impulse is not coming from my head, but it's from my gut. And the people that I'm starting to talk, and the flow of new clients or new people that want to work with me, it's starting to be opening, not from like I have to do it, from the worrying. So it's it's a new experience for me. And this is my research about that is inside of radical freedom, is how to, what are the process and what are the experiences and the path to activate this inner wisdom that have the answers, that have the next step, that have the seed of what you came here to create, and how to make that voice, that thing that speaks through you and in you louder, so you can hear it, so you can move in your life through that voice, through that inner wisdom. This is my research right now, and I will keep sharing here, and also in article what I figure out and now what I discovered about that. I'm noticing and feeling a lot of fear now after speaking of this time, maybe not things connected with each other. And I also feeling a lot of joy about not stopping one single time to judge myself or to start again the video. So it was a cool experiment. See you around. I'm closing the space now. Bye.